We're kind of getting tired of all the news, the information, the WhatsApp messages, some of the really funny things and the memes that people are doing around lockdown. Perhaps you're also sick of the fake news and the crazies who are alarmists around this stuff. So this morning I thought I'll shift gears a little bit and not make this devotion purely about the coronavirus and about lockdown. But we're in another important season. It's the season of Lent. So this morning, as I said, I'm shifting gears. I'm not going to speak directly around coronavirus. I want to speak about something I read in my devotion that NT Wright has written called Lent for Everyone. And I don't know what day 40 something. I know we're nearing the end of this whole process. But he's focusing on Matthew chapters 24 and 25 and then of course 26 as we get into the final moments of Jesus' life. And in Matthew 25, Jesus begins to share a few parables. He speaks about the idea of the 10 virgins, 5 wise and 5 foolish, and that's a message of urgency. He speaks about the parable of the talents, the 5, the 2, and the 1 talented person, and that's a message of making the most of what we have. He speaks about the separation of the sheep and the goats, and he's speaking about the finality of all things, of judgment to come. And so in the end, Jesus begins to speak about what NT Wright calls second nature. And he speaks about what should come naturally to followers of his disciples. Because he says to them around this whole idea of feeding the hungry and of giving relief to the poor and the thirsty and looking after the stranger and clothing the naked and caring for the prisoner. And he says that if you've done this unto the least of these, you've done them unto me. And so there's this second nature response. There's not this actions or these rules that we've got to keep as Christ followers. In fact, let me read you what NT Wright says in this devotion. We'd miss the point entirely if we were to read it as a list of rules to be obeyed. To be sure, if you're starting out on the path of Christian discipleship, then these are guidelines that demand close attention. But Jesus doesn't envisage us keeping a list of these actions and carefully ticking them off as we do them. He wants us to be the sort of people who do these things, as we say, naturally. Though actually it would be kind of second nature, without stopping to think about them. I think that every one of us have this deposit of God inside of us, created in His image. And given the right set of circumstances, the right opportunity, we'd shift from a self-centered, a self-orientated, narcissistic way of living, and we'll start thinking about other people. And it would come naturally to us to take care of people who are less fortunate than ourselves, to pray for people, to help them, and to contribute towards making somebody else's life a little easier. Now, I think God's Spirit, as it enters into us, regenerates that latent kindness, that latent self-sacrifice, that we can be a blessing to other people. So my thought as I was contemplating what NT Wright is saying here, is that we would allow God's Spirit so that it would come naturally to us to care for people. And we would hear the voice of God somewhere in this process saying, you do it to the least of these, you do it unto me. So I want to encourage you during this lockdown period to really pause and contemplate and think about who you are and the kind of person that you want to be and that God is drawing you to be. And I think that's got to do with loving God, loving people, and making a difference. God bless you, stay safe and stay healthy.